So Juul E-Cigarette litigation. I was the lead counsel in the Juul E-Cigarette litigation in California. The coordinated proceeding, I was co-lead counsel along with another attorney. And so I set up the Juul folder, and then I create subfolders. And the subfolders for me here, I'm looking at my screen, is articles, because there's a lot of articles, both scientific and otherwise. So I put all my articles in one folder. I have discovery in another folder. I have experts in another folder. I have science documents in another folder. I have pleadings in a folder. And then I have ultimately the settlement folder that has all the settlement documentation. I download every day probably a dozen documents to Liquid Text, and I don't take them out of my main folder until I reviewed it, and then I drop it into the appropriate folder in the case it belongs to. That's my use. Cases, and then subfolders within those cases, and then annotating those documents with some way to know whether or not I've reviewed it or not. And sometimes I'll put a little mark where I am in a document, or I'll put one final annotation to know where to go back to finish the review of the document. But it's very scalable. So it can be a one-page document, or it could be a 5,000-page document. Once it's here, I can use it. This is inside the Juul folder, and these are the different documents that have come in on the Juul litigation. And I have the check mark showing whether I've reviewed it or not. And as you can see, both of the national settlement agreements apparently I have not reviewed. By the way, I love the delete feature where you can find deleted documents. In the old days, when you deleted a document, it was gone forever. And today you can retrieve. If I pull this one up, you can see how I'm using it. So this is back, the date of this one was (2020). So you've got all my notes here. This was maybe even before you could block copy text out. So I had to use it with actually handwriting all my notes. So that's what you see here, all my handwritten notes. And then of course, all of the tethers are here that just bring you to, and it's like a spaghetti mash of all the stuff. But this is a perfect example of my use. And then these are my notes to give you an idea of what it was I needed to focus on with regard to the hearing before the judge.